Can I survive with just what I keep under the seat of this thing? Find out in this episode. It's a long one, so bear with me, but there's going to be chapters. Let's get on with the show. Well, welcome back to another video. And I'm starting to get a little bit overloaded making all these videos. And with COVID and trips to the chemo ward for MS treatment and school and everything that's happened, I decided I'm going to take some time out. But I thought I'd make it interesting. So I'm going to take my 8-wheel drive Argo, which I'll show you. This is an 8-wheel drive Argo. It's under a tarp, but it's an amphibious skid steer vehicle with a 23 horse V-twin Briggs & Stratton engine in it. This is basically my wheelchair because I can't hike and swim and stuff the way I used to anymore. And normally I would camp in this, which is a 6-wheel drive military ambulance, or I'd camp in the back of that. But there's a complication. Now, where I'd like to go camping is on an island, and it's a private island that I have permission to go to. Now, to get to that island, I have to cross a river. Not a huge river, but it's deep enough that it would be a problem for me to walk through. And I don't feel like getting wet, and I want to carry some gear. So, I have a plan. I'm going to do a couple of things in one go. Let's have a look under the seat of that 8-wheel drive. Now, we're underneath the Argo, underneath the tarp. Having a look under here, there is a bunch of stuff, including some rations and a mess kit, some repellent, some bog roll, torches, a bunch of survival gear. I basically figure if I get stuck in this thing, chances are that somebody's going to find me in a timely fashion are limited, which is why I carry a satellite communicator, namely a Spot Gen 3. But I thought, actually, a while ago I had to spend 5 hours babysitting something, waiting for somebody to pick it up. I did dip into my survival gear a little bit, including the 2 litres of water I keep in here. So I decided it might be worthwhile testing if I can actually live off what's under here. So we're back in the workshop for this one. Now, about 8 years ago, when my wife got here from America, we went hiking, and I bought her a jungle hammock, and I bought myself one, including all these nice real compact poly tarps and everything, and I made suspended sleeping bags. I've got a lot of really lightweight gear, and I don't use it really much anymore since we got that 6-wheel drive ambulance. So I'm going to take a hammock, a tarp, maybe the suspended sleeping bag, and we're going to hop across to this island and camp the night. Now, if I was doing a long trip, I'd usually have the hammock strapped to the back and a couple of other essentials. So I'm going to equip this thing basically how I would go if I was going for an extended trip that I might get stuck in, or I suspect I could get stuck in. And we're going to see how I'd survive with just what I carry with me. Alright, we're looking at the Pelican case I'm going to take. Normally all of this stuff would pack down in its little bags and strap to the back of the seat. But we're expecting rain, and I'm cheating a little bit. So packing it all in a safe case. This is roughly what I would take if I expected an overnight stay. Alright, we're back outside. One thing that is coming with me, and always comes with me, this gets strapped to the back of the seat back. And I've got a bunch of bags with it. Pretty sure you can imagine why that is. Alright, I had a choice of several rat packs kicking around. I chose beef casserole, but I did have buttered chicken and vegetable curry and spag bowl. Spag bowl's nice, but I like the beef casserole better. Buttered chicken's probably the worst one out of the range. Vegetable curry, I'm not a spice fan, so I thought I would go with the beef casserole, being as we had one left. Let's lift this seat up and get underneath here. Now, really, the best way of making those meals is with a kidney cup. But I think I'm going to go without it this time, because I wouldn't traditionally carry one with me if I was on an expedition. And I'm going to throw my extra bog roll in. I could throw an FRH in, which I might do in case I get frustrated, but traditionally to get a hot meal out of them, you've got to boil them. You know what, I'm going to throw an FRH in. Alright, there's an FRH, a flameless ration heater. You'll see them when we use it. But I'm going to be honest, I probably wouldn't leave home without one of them in a rat pack. Actually, I had a second thought. I am going to bring a kidney cup, just because I actually like to drink coffee, and I realised I've got nothing to drink it out of, and they don't include a beverage bag in those things, so I'm going to bring a kidney cup. Alright, another bit has arrived for the Argo. This is this single pole double throw rocker switch that is illuminated, so that'll be good. Let's go out to the Argo and see if we can fit this. Alright, we're out in the Argo, and I've added that additional switch in here. Now what that does is, normally you can turn the ignition on and your lighter socket lights up, but you're pulling a constant amp running the brake cooling fans all the time, so that's not exactly ideal. So I've set this up so it can bypass, and I can still run these with a switch even with the ignition off, which is nice, and I can isolate everything with the isolation switch down here. The other mod, I've made this Anderson plug extender. There is an Anderson plug under the seat, so if I isolate that, I can plug the Anderson plug in and run it over to the trolling battery, which then means I can run this off the trolling battery practically all night. Alright, the trolling battery is plugged in. We connect it under the seat here. This is what I call jump start setting, because I can start it directly off that battery, even though the other one is disconnected. And if I turn this switch on, that lights up. Now I do have a USB-C lead in here, and I have a micro B lead as well. I've got all my winch buttons and everything like that under the seat. So I'm going to do a bit of organising in here and clean this up a little bit, and probably squeeze a rat pack in here as well. But this is basically what I'm working with. Alright, so while we're at it, probably time to plug the trolling battery in to charge. Get it happening, because I'm leaving in the morning. Or probably mid-afternoon. These Victron chargers are great. There we go. It's in test mode. It should go to probably bulk or absorption charge. Bulk charge, there we go. And I permanently fixed both an Anderson plug and the charging plug on here, just to make life easier. Alright, I'll leave that go overnight. Alright, this is my survival kit, all packed in a bag. That can tuck down nice and compact, and it's really only the bare bones basics, but with everything else I usually have on board, this is just fills the gap for something I may have forgotten. And I tell you, ibuprofen and paracetamol mightn't seem like a big thing, but that can be the difference between getting home and being in serious trouble sometimes. So anyway, let's get this put back in, find ourselves a rat pack, and put that under the seat too.
72 hours later.
Alright, so D-Day is upon us. I guess I'm just waiting down the window here, waiting for the wife's Jeep to pull out, and then we're off. And we have some rain approaching, I can smell it, so this will be interesting. I'm probably going to get wet today, maybe tomorrow. See how we go. Let's pull out of here. Camera angles are difficult in this situation. Alright, we're off. Still the turbo spinning here. Alright. I'll see us there.
2 hours later.
Alright, well, we're at our starting location. I'm not going to show you too much of that because the landowner doesn't want much of this area shown. But we're going to get our tarp off and get stuff ready and get some spider webs out of the winch as well. Spiders have been nuts. Got a couple of pups here keeping guard on me. How you going, pups? Where are you? They're keeping an eye on everything for me. They're going to guard my vehicle while I'm away, which would be nice. Anyway, time to get prepped. Alright, time to get ourselves going. Turn everything on. Do a system check in a minute. Let's go choke out. Let it run on choke for a minute and then we'll pull off. Time to depart the safe zone. Let's see how we go here. I ran over my magnetic number plate holder, but it popped back up again. Good job. Alright. Alright, we're just drifting with the current at the moment, but this looks like a good spot to set up camp. I think when I make my landing I'll be coming back around there. The bank's a little bit steep here. I know there's a really good entry. There is a flooded bit that I'd probably get in on there, but when I know I have a good entry, there's no real reason to take risks. So I'm going to have a crack at that and then we'll be back. Alright, here we are at our landing point. We've got to just counteract the current a bit. I almost overshot this. Whoa. Well, we're a bit steep, I think. We might reverse off this. Whoa. That's a steep entry. I think when I come back in, I'm going to be doing that in reverse. Alright, oh. We'll give it another shot. Wow, that is some soft mud. Push our nose away, thank you. See if I can get around now.
One eternity later. Alright, we're on the island. Now, there are a lot of hidden trees in this grass, so I'm inclined to use the tracks he's already cut. Somebody on the other side of the river's collecting postie vans and Commodore wagons. This bit's definitely been underwater recently. Glad I filled up with fuel because it took actually quite a bit more effort to get up here than I'd expected. Last time I just pretty much had a really nice landing up that other end. Now, if there's a bull on this island, I ain't seen him yet. But there's a fair bit of room out here. Interesting biome out here. Oh, there's a wallaby. He's bouncing out over there somewhere. Pretty sure I forgot to bring my trail cam. It would be nice to set up a trail cam out here and see what's going on, but we're here now. Lots of dragonflies, which is good, means the mozzies will be at a minimum. Alright, I'm going to cruise around for a bit and then we'll find a good camp spot. Alright, we're just going to stop for a bit here. And we're going to stick our head up and have a look at the river here. We're doing pretty well. There's the intersection, there's one river comes in here, there's a corner of the island, there's a little mini island over there, and then there's another river up here. It's all just like an intersection all here. I've always been curious as to what's over on that mini island. While we're here, what I might do is I'll set up camp and then we'll go and have a look about that mini island. I don't think, given the way the current is up there, that's still flood current, I think I'd have a fair bit of time trying to get across to that, but we'll have a look. I'm just reversing up to turn around and I see a fresh cow pat that I've run over. So, and there's another one there. So there is cattle activity here. Nice little branch here. Let's cruise over that. That's the rough way to do it. I should have just kept a bit of throttle on. Alright, so we're going to cruise up along our mini island up here. And yeah, really steep banks. So if I was going to do that, I'd probably swim across. Although with the current at the moment, I think that's probably also a bad idea. And I don't think there's anything that exciting over there, to be honest. Oh, more fresh cow crap. So, I could probably winch up that bank. I could have winched up a couple of these other banks, but the whole thing with winching is if I have to winch up a bank, it makes for a tricky entry as well. So, it's shallow enough, yeah. But you see, if I've winched up, I don't quite know how I'm going to go going back in the water. Like, whatever I do here, I've got to know that I can get back. So, I know there's a lot more people that are probably a lot more confident with water entries than I am, but I'm still pretty risk averse when it comes to that. Yeah, there's definitely some trees down. There's a lot of debris in there. That's some tricky terrain, although I see a lot of grass there. I'd probably get up there. But getting in here, it's a sheer drop off, which means I probably better not get too close to it. I don't know how much of that's grass. I don't really want to roll sideways in there. You know, years ago, my old man took me up a really narrow track. There was a dead end and you couldn't turn around in it. This is in a normal vehicle, of course. And he said, all right, now this is your driving lesson, now you've got to learn to reverse. It was like 2 kilometers of reversing. I've never been concerned about reversing a vehicle since. So yeah, I got to thank him for that. All right. Yeah, I can see some wind in the trees. This is good. Mozzies do like to hang around in the stagnant air under trees, but a bit of air is good. I also want a couple of trees that I can anchor my tarp off. So this is pretty much the area I'd spotted from the river. I'll just find a nice little ideal spot. This is looking like it might be an ideal spot. I'll have to clean some trunks out of the way, but that could work. Ah, there's our bull. He's a friendly looking bull. Let's say hello to him first. See what kind of character he's got so I can decide where to camp. But I think the bull's got the right idea of where to be. Yeah, you're going to be pretty right. It's like a crossbreed of a Highlander or something. Hey? You right there, buddy? How you going? How friendly are you? You're eating some weeds. Now that I've stopped, I can hear a fruit bat or flying fox. No? That could be baby cockatoos too. They sound similar. I think you're going to be alright, buddy. You're not going to give us any trouble. Alright. Oh. Where are we? Alright, we'll sit here for a bit and I'll do some messages. Alright, so I just got a message that we're predicting thunderstorms tonight. It's not what I checked on the radar when I saw it before, but I know there's a little bit of rain on the go. So, what do you reckon, buddy? What are we going to call you, George? What do you reckon, George? You reckon we're going to get thunderstorms tonight? You don't care as long as it's food, huh? Alrighty then, you obviously like those plants. Hope it doesn't upset your digestive system. Cattle can eat some nasty things sometimes. Alright, so if we are expecting thunderstorms, I probably don't want to be under a widowmaker tree. Namely these eucalypts that drop limbs. So we're going to steer clear of those guys. These trees are a lot better. There's only smaller limbs up them. And actually between these two trees actually sounds like a pretty good idea. They're a bit close together though. It also means if one falls over, they're probably going to fall away from me and not on me, which is good. So yeah, I'm going to cruise up a little bit further, and I think there's a better spot up there. Because if I camp here, I know where George is going to be. He's going to show up in the middle of the night and probably trip over my tent, because cattle can get a little bit night blind. Oh, and there's blackberries or something there. Just got some spikes in me. Part of what the duct tape is for is when you get spikes in you can stick that over the spiky bits. Oh, that's actually stinging nettle. That's what that is. Yep. Been hit by a stinging nettle. I did a lot of that as a kid. I can deal with it. I've got stuff on board. Alright. Let's get moving. Alright, so the next problem, we don't have tent pegs, so we're going to make some. Now I'm feeling some rain start to come in, so we're going to have to dip into a couple of things under here in a moment. One of which I want a big pocket knife that I know is hiding around in here. Here we go. This is my tent peg knife, so we'll do something with that. And I might be having to put the tarp over this Argo soon. Starting to get a few drips of rain. Alright, I'm starting to feel some rain. So first thing I want to do is make sure the essentials are dry. It doesn't really matter really if I get my clothes wet, as long as I get this tarp up to an acceptable degree, then I can at least stay dry while I set things up underneath. George is obviously aware something's about to change too. He's bugging off. Alright. Now we've got lots of little sticks and stuff here. I might start with a couple of basic ones. There's our wind. We're going to need decent tent pegs. Alright, well first thing that comes to mind, I can probably stabilise things a bit by tying it to the front of this. So I'm going to pull a bit of winch cable out, and this will get us something started. Give us a minor amount of shelter. It's always a bit of an art, as just figuring out the lay of the land when you get to a new spot. That is probably heavy enough. We have an additional rope here. I don't have time to think about complicated knots, so I'm just going to do a reef knot in between these two. Right. It's not going to come off. Go to a... This log is probably heavy enough to do the job. Alright. Now, when I said I didn't have the time to be thinking about complicated knots, we're going to do a prosecutch. Here comes our rain. So, do this. I've probably done that wrong, I have, but it should still function at least. So I got half the knot right. Okay, that will get it up. Now we need to get our tarp over the Argo happening. Alright. Alright. Got some tarp up. Let's figure out how to deal with this side of things. Alright. That's stinging nettle. Let's get me shovel. Or not, but you are. Now, a tool that I brought with me that lives under my seat, a pair of fencing pliers. This is like a hammer, staple puller, wire cutter, everything all in one. Bloody amazing bits of gear. This might suffice for tent peg. So we're going to score right about here. Now we'll give it a bit of a spike. Doesn't need to be terribly sharp, just enough to make life a little easier. Alright, where do we want our peg? Somewhere out of here. Glad I moved that stinging nettle. There's a bit more right there. Alright. Now if you do tent pegs the way the scouts do it, you'd use like a little forked stick and put the fork downwards. That'd stop your rope flying back off it. In lieu of that, you just put your pegs in at about a 45. Now we're going to do one of these, but you do 2 loops before and 2 loops after, and you end up with a hitch you can slide up and down without it losing grip on the rope. Now, one thing to remember when you pack your gear up, it's really worth packing it up neat each time you do it, because this is a case of where they got packed up in a hurry years ago and haven't been used since, and now they're all tangled. Now this single strand of Dyneema rope here is going to hold my body weight, and it's a tubular rope, so I've threaded it back through itself, and you can just, like a Chinese finger trap, you can just slide it up and down and extend the loop. It's really, really handy to do that, as long as you just put a little ball on the end here. So hopefully this stuff is still strong enough to hold my weight. Alright, so we're settled. We're not as far off the ground as I would normally put it, but I want some airflow, so I'm a bit lower than the tarp. But I need a break. This is about all the energy I can do. And it looks like George over here, looks like he's going to keep us company. He's not at all concerned about us being here. Alright, one thing is never handy. It's when you bust your glasses in the field. Now I need to make sure that the arms are relatively straight here. They are not, so I'm going to need a few things. Luckily I have a screwdriver, a glasses screwdriver in my kit here. Probably be about, that will be about right. We can probably straighten that up, and then we'll get that screwdriver on the job. Now a lens has popped out, but fortunately I take frames that can be unscrewed.
The irony of this is it's hard to see what I'm doing. So what we need to do is loosen this screw up in here and open that frame up and put our lens back in. I'm not taking the screw all the way out, that's asking for trouble. Just enough to pop that lens back in. Do that back up. But this is why I carry that Victronox Cyber tool on me. Where are we? I'm hoping I'm not too close for this camera and it's not blurry, but if it is, you can imagine what it's like for me. We're still a bit wonky, but yep, they fit, they're good enough. Okay, let's have a look. So yep, they work well enough, we'll be right. Fixed. Anyway, something we need to do. I've decided the mozzies are a little bit insane at the moment, and I do have plenty of repellent, and I know I said I'm not having any fires, but I did speak to the landowner and he said he didn't mind. So what I am going to do is make a small fire just to create a bit of smoke, hopefully keep them at bay. Now I didn't bring my battery saw, and there's some fallen wood here which is probably very hard. It's certainly nice and dry. This is still fairly sharp, so hoping I can take some small sections of this and split it. So let's see how we go. It's hard when it's bouncing. Now this island's got a fairly decent history, most of which I'm not familiar with, but based on this there's been some stuff going on out here since before the current landowner. So that's been there for a while. Got some PC-21s overhead again. Here they're coming. They're above the clouds by the sound of that. Can we see him? There he is right there. There he goes. Actually pretty low. Alright. Anyway, let's go find some wood. Now, one of the reasons I traditionally wouldn't have a fire is it takes water to put it out, to do it properly. And in Australia, putting your fires out is definitely a sound thing to do. However, I'm right beside a flooded river, so worst case I can fill it up with river water and then never use that jerry can again for drinking water. So I need a whole bunch of this stuff trimmed up. Alright, this is kind of what we wanted. The wind's done a little bit of an about face, or it's circling a bit, but just a little bit of smoke in the air should help slow the mozzies down. Means I can use a little bit less repellent. I think I might get some hexitabs out and my kidney cup. I might make a cuppa. Alright, well the tarp has many uses. Ground sheet is one of them. Now I'm officially going to open my rat pack. It's, what is it, about 2:30 PM at the moment. So, yeah, we're going to dip into this. Now I didn't have lunch, so I think I've done well to hold out for this. It wasn't intentional that I didn't have lunch, but it's often the case when I'm out in these places too. So, I think I'm going to start with a, what have we got, a blueberry and apple cereal bar. I think that'll do. That'll get me through a few hours to dinner. And I'm going to do my my cup of tea. Now I could put it on the fire here, but it makes these things horribly hard to clean, so I'm going to use a hexitab. And And we're going to dip in fairly carefully to the amount of water we have. I still have my 600ml bottle as well. We're just going to leave that bag of hexitabs out, I think. Alright, super careful with our water, we don't want to spill it. We only want half a kidney cup, because that's about enough for a cup of tea. That'll be plenty. Alright. Now, see if we can save a match by getting our hexitab burning this way. We are burning. A hexitab there. Kidney cup on top. Right, so I've got Vegemite instead of jam in this one, but that's alright, we can live with that. There we go, we've got that and a single sugar. I'll save the other sugar for the coffee, and the condensed milk is sweetened. Oh, and we've got a nice dark chocky bar as well. Alright, well the mozzies have backed off pretty much entirely at the moment. I'm not sure what the case would be if I moved away from the fire a bit. I can see them hanging around in the background. But yeah, we'll be right. I put a couple of extra bits of hexitab under there just because I've got a bucket load of them. Far more than I need for this particular trip. And we're going to let our billy boil. These tea bags that come in these rat packs, they take a little bit to actually have to soak in. So I find I throw them in while the water's cool, and it gets time for that water to soak through the bag, and by the time it's boiling they brew very nicely. Now, one of the things I'm going to do while I wait is just check inside my socks and around my pant legs and stuff for ticks and any other sort of cuts and scratches I haven't noticed, because this grass does hide ticks. In fact, I think I saw one rolling around the floor pan of the Argo before, after I drove through it all. So I just take a few moments to just check over if I've got any sitting in situations where I haven't noticed. So I'm pretty sure we do get both paralysis ticks here, and the other ones that they give you a disease, I think, that makes you allergic to meat, off memory, and I've already got enough autoimmune problems with MS, so I don't really want to add that into the mix. So yeah, I'm just having a good check around. I'll check my head as well. I have a bit of a good old head scratch, see if there's anything in there that needs to be scratched out. Make sure there's nothing there. Let's have a good look. It's all good. Anyway, these guys. Improvised plate. There we go. Oh. Jammy Dodgers. They're good stuff. Alright, I'm taking a break. Alright, so I brought my cuppa back to the front to have a look at a few things here. Now, one thing I have done is I've connected my Anderson plug we looked at before to the trolling battery, isolated the main battery, and I'm using my override switch to get USB charging. Now, I brought my phone up to 90%, but we've got a Hero 9 over here that needs charging, and I've only got one battery for that. I'm recording this one on one of my Hero 7s, and I've got like a dozen batteries for those things, and a charger that can charge 3 at a time. So, pull this off. my legs are stinging from that stinging nettle. I get caught with it every time. But I've only got one battery for my Hero 9 because they use bigger batteries. So hopefully that will charge. So far survival from under the seat is going pretty well. I haven't had to dip into my survival kit yet for anything, which is nice, nor the bog roll. Now for dinner I had a thought about using the FRH. The fun with FRHs is you can't use the water once you've boiled it in them. Whereas if I was to use hexitabs and put it in my kidney cup, I can boil the meal pouch in there and I can still make a coffee out of the remaining water. And I discovered something. Where is it? I was poking around in here. Some time ago in the past I threw some extra sugar, tea bags and some plastic cutlery in a bag. I'd completely forgotten about this, so I've got extra cups of tea. Makes me happy. And before it gets dark I will take my light source out. The other thing that occurred to me that I didn't realise I could do until I got here is now that I'm using an auxiliary battery, like the trolling battery, I can use the LED headlights in the Argo. So I've actually positioned it so that the headlights are facing the camp, so I can probably run the headlights tonight as floodlights, and on that 130 amp hour battery I'm probably going to run all night. I also found under the seat I have a little teensy tiny voltmeter that I also stashed in here some time ago. Ultra compact. It's just 2 clip leads on a little tiny self-powered voltmeter. I had forgotten I'd put that in here, so I can keep tabs of the battery volts as well. I might actually clip that on while it's parked and make use of that. But still, the best find yet, extra tea bags. It's nice to know. And I was worried about not having spare fuses. There's an auxiliary fuse box I installed in here, and I didn't use all the fuse bays, but I filled them all up with fuses. So I actually have a couple of spare fuses under the seat, which is nice. Not that I expect to blow one, but you know, when I've been messing with the electrics, it's a possibility. Alright, so I'm looking at the weather and it feels like there's rain, like it's just about to rain. And it's been like that pretty much since I got here. And it's nearly 5 o'clock in the afternoon now. So I looked at the rain radar and the rain band is just skirting around us. Usually we're at the end of a valley and there's a big lake, a semi-coastal lake nearby. And the rain barrels down this valley and it gets to all this upwelling of air off the lake and it scoots around us. It divides around like the parting of the seas. So when I've looked at the rain radar and we're on the fringes of the rain and we have been all day, which is nice, it's cool enough for me. And it helps me cope with the MS a little bit better. We're not getting any rain, and actually, to be honest, I wouldn't mind a little bit of rain. It'd cool me off very nicely, and I can practice some methods to capture clean water. That being said, I think I'm probably going to get myself a little reverse osmosis pump to hide under here. There's a bit of room, I could put that in there, even just a little hand pump. I could get a bit of clean usable water out of this, or a life straw maybe. Might be the way to go, because in a situation like this it'd be really nice to be able to drink some of that water. I know I've got my additional water there, but I'm trying to live off my 2 litres plus the 600 ml. So anyway, I think it's dinner time. Well, it will be very soon. Got some GoPro batteries on the charge, so I think I'm going to start just slowly prepping for dinner. Alright, so it's getting close to mealtime. I'm taking my time to have a think. Now, of the available options, I have my hexi-stove, and I have my kidney cup, and I have a flameless ration heater. Now, I'm thinking about how to use all of these options. I do want to get my hexi-stove working at some point, and try that out. I have, of course, limited water. I've got through about a third of that at this point. Now, if I use the FRH, I can't reuse the water that I put in that, so I think I'm going to leave that for a last resort, or if I was to do that, I'd use dirty water out of the river to make the FRH react, and because it's not going to actually get intermingled into my food. They're in sealed containers, so that would be a fairly safe way to do it.
I could boil it in a kidney cup with a half a cup of water here. That would work relatively well. And I've also got my hexi-stove. I do want to try out the hexi-stove and see just how useful it actually is. So yeah, I also think with the meal, I have a main meal pouch in here. I've got my beef casserole and I've got my mashed spud. Now I normally have them as the one meal. It's a big meal, but I'm thinking I've done pretty well at this point. I've done about 5.5 hours on a cup of tea and 2 bickies, so I think I'm going to have just this meal and not give my digestive system too much of a hard time. And I'm just going to stage out these things just slowly so that my blood sugar stays nice and level and not way up and down, because that's going to cause problems. And being as I found some extra tea bags, I can have an extra cup of tea at some point, just help keep that hunger down. So I think that's how I'm going to do it. I think I'll try the hexi-stove, and I think I will put a thin layer of water in there as a thermal barrier or thermal conductor so that I can boil this without melting the packet. Because otherwise you've got to sit it in the kidney cup here, and I know from experience that while you can get enough water for a cup of coffee out of this, it does splash it everywhere, and usually half of this is cold. So I'm going to try a different method with the hexi-stove, and this is pretty well what I would do in a survival situation. I would sit down, lay out all my options, look at everything I've got and try and choose the best option. And we're basically trying to economize water usage here, so I think that's how I'm going to do it. Now, ordinarily, oh, that handle has come out. Ordinarily, I guess that I could probably use river water to do this, and this actually fits in here just nicely. So I could potentially use river water to boil this rat pack, and not worry too much about using my good drinking water. So to that end, what I'm going to actually use is a bit of water out of my emergency reserve and pretend it's river water, and we'll see how we go with that. Alright, so the other thing I figured with this too is being aluminium, it's a little bit more thermally conductive than the steel of this, and you've got a much broader surface to make contact with the flame, I guess. Now this is wedged itself in here pretty tightly. There we go. So we're going to pretty much sit that like this. We will be off the tarp, and we'll put a couple of hexitabs. I normally break them up into 4 for more intense heat. So we're going to sit it by the fire. The other reason too, if we're near the fire, which we could put sticks and stuff in this without any trouble as well, but I want to use the hexitabs today. Alright, so I told myself I was going to have to wait till 5 o'clock for dinner, and it's 5:04. So we can put a whole tablet on here, which I'm pretty sure we're going to need, but they work better when you break them up into 4 sections. So usually I take the piece I've broken with the sharpest corner, and we try and ignite that. Look. See how we go. Bit of flame going here. Push that in the middle. That will eventually ignite the rest of them. And we'll plonk our meal on top. Hopefully there's enough water under there to stop it melting the retort pouch. Now it's at this point I realise I used to have a pair of gloves under the seat, and I don't anymore. So we're going to have to just deal with it as best we can. Where are my Leatherman? Where's my Leatherman? Right up here. So I think we're going to take this off the flame. I'm going to sit it down here, and we're going to pick you up out of here. I think it's ready to eat. So we're going to grab our other tray here, sit you in there. Alright, let's go over to the Argo. Alright, we're over and seated in the Argo. Now you can tear off with these tabs. Well, it feels nice and hot, but I find when it's hot they never tear properly. You also have this second point. As you eat down, you can tear it off at a second position and get easier access, which certainly helps with this short spoon. Now let's see what this tastes like. It's definitely hot. Yep. That's good. Alright. I'm going to eat and I'll see you afterwards.
2 hours later.
Alright, so it's about 7 o'clock now, or a bit later than that. I was hoping to hold out till about 8 o'clock before I ate anything else, but I'm just going with what my body's doing. So we're going to open our hexi-stove up again. Now what I've discovered, I've got one more hexitab left in this box, and these were designed pretty much to be, you know, one rat pack's worth. So by the time I use this, if I boil enough hot water for my mash spud, which is about 1 cup, that will mean that one box of these is good for the hot components of a single rat pack, which is about right. But I've got 4 boxes of them here, because, you know, in these situations you never know what you might need them for. So let's get some water on the boil. Now, tricky bit here. When I'm making the mash, it calls for 1 cup of water, which is 1/4 of a litre, or 250 millilitres. I call it mil, just for ease of pronunciation. This is a 600 ml bottle, so I know actually out of these 1 cup is actually just below that little ring there. That's why I bring one of these brand, because I know that's 1 cup, almost exactly. So I'm going to drink a bit of this. I'm going to pour the excess into my other canteen until I've got about 1 cup worth in there. Alright, our water is not far off boiling. We're going to open this and get it ready. And I am prepared with the other pan here to put out the grass fire if it needs to. I need to pick this up. Hopefully I don't drop it all over myself. Now we do this. We stir immediately and vigorously, otherwise you get dry stuff in the back. I hear some wallabies tromping around up there, or maybe it's George. Right, now we're going to seal this up. Let it cool off, because that's really hot. I'm thinking I'm going to use this and I'm going to make another cuppa. I think it's about time for that. I think that'll do. Make a small cuppa, a little bit of water. Okay, so one thing I'm doing when I sit down here to eat is I'm topping up my phone charge wise while I'm sitting here, and that gives me, it'll get me through the night better. Although that phone will do about 2 days. That's an S21 Ultra 5G. It'll do like 2 days or something. Oh, that's better. I've got the microphone where I need it. It'll do about 2 days on a charge. It's not too bad. Mash spud's probably almost at edible temperature. The cuppa's going to cool down a bit. Alright, I'm going to take my time and enjoy the ritual of eating. Alright, so mashed spud and a cup of tea wasn't bad. I put a little bit of extra milk in there, so it was a very sweet cuppa. But I'm making use of all of the calories. I find with those ration packs, there's only exactly enough food in there for me for 24 hours. So I'm saving off a lot of the snacks that don't require heating. Well, I mean, this stuff doesn't. You could do that with cold water if you wanted, but it doesn't taste real great. But most of the snacks that don't need any real prep, I'm saving them for the dark hours, so that I can just reach out and grab them. And so probably about every 3 hours I'll have a nibble if I'm awake. I am going to dip into my kit. It's coming on to sunset now. We've got, what, about 4 fingers off the horizon. So this time of year, that means about 40 minutes. So I am going to dip into the survival kit because I've been brushing into stinging nettle all day, and whilst I am got a degree of immunity from it because I've done it so much as a kid, when I lay down and get warm, it's going to swell up and inflame. So I'm going to do a couple of ibuprofen here and take them now that I've had some food. That's what that mint tin is ibuprofen and paracetamol.
So that bit of the survival kit I do definitely need, which means I need some water. Alright, so before the rain gets here, I thought I'd have a bit of a walk around, and I'm going to take the DJI gimbal camera here and see what we can do. There's a roo out here, somewhere out that way. I've been trying to get a good photo of him, but I'm just going to go out on foot. Can't go too far on foot with MS, but we'll see how we go. But let's flip this camera around. Alright, so I'm going to go for a walk, see if we can catch this roo. This is where this gimbal camera is going to be good. We're going to walk through tick territory with all this grass. See if we can catch him. Look at this. Whoa. Oh, I'm tripping over stuff. This is also snake territory, and it's snake season, so I'm being careful. I don't want to stand on him. I'm just giving anything a chance, and there's big fat spider webs here too. I'm thinking I'm better off sticking to the track at this point. We'll just pan our way back around here. Yep. Thinking chances that I'd run into a snake there are actually pretty high. So on the track I've got a little bit more warning. Let's go see if we can get some wildlife. I don't think it's this far up. Alright. No, he's hanging around down the back. I'll go the other way down the track. Now, fun fact about the way MS manifests for me. Because the first attack that I ever had, which, as we now know it was an attack of MS, affected the C6 vertebrae, which is in the base of my neck. And so, that means that if I walk too far, it does tend to affect pretty much everything from the neck down. So these days if I walk with any great intensity for more than about 100 meters, I start to progressively lose the control of my limbs, predominantly my legs and my right hand. So I try not to stray too far from alternative means of mobility, hence the purchase of the Argo. But I do like getting into unusual terrain, so the Argo works really well. Let's have a look out here. We can see the river is actually receding. A few days ago when I was here, all of this would have been underwater. It would have made it really easy to just float my way in. Now there's a shelf which the water is right at the height of that shelf, which has been some of the problems I've had actually getting up here. Is the water's just at that key point where it makes it quite a challenge to get the Argo in. I dare say the water will recede slightly by morning. I don't know how much, and it could make re-entering the water interesting. But the fortunate thing about this place is there's lots of entries points, and so we'll find one that works. One of which we're heading for right now. Now I know these are a noxious weed, but the gimbal camera is not allowing me to point down. Let's go down, gimbal camera. I know they're a noxious weed, but they have some very pretty purple flowers in these. Alright, come back up, gimbal camera. Now, the roo that I'm looking for, he keeps popping up and down in amongst these trees here, or shrubs. I've got to learn what these are. There's a lot of plants out here that I'm not that familiar with, and a lot of them I suspect are probably weeds. And given the location and position of this island, managing these sort of things is a bit difficult, so it is not that surprising. Go have a wander. I know on foot at least the Argo is on foot is a little bit better than the Argo. You tend not to scare things so much. The Argo is a lot faster. And here we go. Now my legs are starting to tingle. Well, my feet are. Now, I forgot we have technology on our side. I can get out here with the zoom lens and find out what that movement in the water is. It was somewhere around about here. I'll wait until it moves again, then I'll have another go. Well, there's some movement there. Oh, and I'm standing in stinging nettle again. There's our movement. I wonder if it's not a platypus, because they do live in this river system not far from here. I would expect to see him coming to the surface at some point. Now, here's a bushcrafty tip for you. This could be a good source of food. This is a yabby hole. They're a small crayfish, if you're not familiar with the phrase. There is also a leech on the edge of that hole. So it tells me there's leeches around here. I will be checking myself shortly for that. But if you had a little skerrick of food kicking around, or you could dig up a couple of worms, you could lure them out with that. And basically you sit there at night with a very dim light, like a candle or just a little bit of, you know, a little very, very dim torch. And you'd sit it by the edge and you'd wait for them to come out with their pincers. And as soon as they do that, you grab 2 fingers behind their claws and rip them out. So you could eat. I don't really agree with the idea that most people cook them by boiling them, but if you're desperate, you could get a feed. It's nice to know around here. Now, where you find those guys, you usually find freshwater mussels. So I'm pretty sure if I was to poke around in the shallows around the edge there and wriggle my feet into there, I'd probably find some freshwater mussels. Again, I supplemented my diet a lot when I went on extended walks, usually when I didn't want to come home, and consequently I'm sick of all of that. I also won't eat eel anymore because of that as well. Anyway, let's head back around and up, away from all that stinging nettle. Yeah, it looks like the ducks are going to spend the night on the water. They're not going home tonight. They've been following me around all day like they expect food or something. Alright, so this camera is much better at low light. I'm going to go for a little bit of a walk and check out these heron chicks, which I'm pretty sure have been squawking like literally non-stop all day. Oh, there's our wallaby. Where is he? He's right there somewhere. He'll be looking at me. He's not going to stick his head up and look at me. No. They're going to be thumping around all night. I'll back it in. Alright, let's go and see what was the case with these chicks. Oh, they're all up here. Here we go. I think I see a nest right there. See if I can zoom in on it. Alright. Where is he? He's up here somewhere. That's right there. There's our herons on the nest with our chicks. There you go. They definitely know I'm down here. But that's where those chicks are. I wonder if I can get a better look at that. I always wondered how these guys nested. Yeah, but it looks like there's definitely a chick there. It sounds like the chick's been told to shut up because it stopped making any noise. Yeah, alright, we'll leave them be. I just wanted to get a look at that. They're all over the trees up above here. Anyway, we'll leave them be because they're coming into roost and we don't want to upheave that. We have some spiders up here too. I don't know if I can track that object for focus. No, a bit too close for it. But yeah, there's some interesting spiders all stringing webs everywhere. I've already driven up here and got rid of most of them, so yeah. Let's head back. It's pretty much our last lap of the area before it gets dark, and I don't want to be tromping around here in the dark. I'm too tall for that. Where was he? There was something moved in there, but I don't know what that was. Anyway, we'll continue back. It's actually not a bad little sheltered spot here. Having this, I'm just keeping this small, but I've thrown a lot of leaves in here so it should smoulder and smoke a lot. It should evict most of the mozzies out of this area. So when it eventually does go out overnight, by that time I'm already zipped up in there. I've got repellent in that box, so in the morning I can put a blast of repellent through the mesh and clear them out before I get out. Alright, so you probably can't see anything. It's quite dark and I have the GoPro hanging off the tree. But I'm going to open this glow stick here. This is a white glow stick, good for 8 hours, although they've been in there a long time, so I don't know how good this is going to be, but see how we go. Well, it's bright enough. It's going to give me a little bit to see with. So that'll be good. We'll let that go for a bit. I'm going to hang that up so I've got a waypoint or a reference point of which way is up when I'm in the hammock, and also where my campsite is. So you can probably see my face a little bit right here. See, there's my face. So all right, this pretty much means it's the end of the filming tonight, unless I do anything inside the hammock, but I probably won't. I'm gonna lay down. It's, what time is it? Pull the phone out of my pocket here. It is about 8:52, nearly 9 o'clock. Now, I don't suppose you can see much here, but I'm taking my boots off. And because there are so many bugs and critters around here, they are zip side boots. I'm going to zip them up with my socks rolled up in the top, and I'm going to put them on top of that box. So hopefully I don't end up with spiders in there, or bitey ants, or whatever else is around. So I'm also going shirtless because I need some airflow tonight. I'm going to be too hot. And this is hanging off the ridgeline, so I'm sorry if it's really bumpy, but you probably can't see much anyway. Anyway, bedtime, guys. Alright, got up to pee and have a look at stuff. I thought I'd just have a look at some of the nightlife around here. Something I haven't seen in a long time is a tiger slug. Let's have a good look at this guy. Very pretty markings on him. You don't really want to get too well acquainted with them, but very, very pretty. And I saw, or heard rather, a koala somewhere. They sound a bit like a wild boar stuck up a tree, but there's one out here croaking a little bit. He might get going later in the night. And I'm making use of the Argo headlights off the trolling battery over here. They're working pretty damn well, actually. So that's given me some campsite lighting. But yeah, the mozzie started to come back in, so I thought I'd get the fire going. One moment while I refocus the camera. There we go, that's better. For some reason, the focus sticks on this a little bit. But yeah, no time out here. Now I had a couple of I had the cereal bar and the muesli bar with chia seeds out of the rat pack a little bit ago, and I finished off the electrolyte. I'm probably going to finish off that water in a bit, but it's definitely cooled off a lot. It's quite nice. So it's coming on to about 10 o'clock at night. So it's going to be nice, but I'm going to crawl back into bed. So it's morning, and this is where I notice how much my eyes have adjusted and how poor low light mode is in most of my cameras. So I can see fairly well, but don't know if you guys can. Anyway, it's about 5:30 in the morning. It's about time for me to get up. It is also quite cold out there, and I am starving, and I need to get these muscles moving. I also probably need to be heading off about 6:30 or something. I'm going to get back to the ambulance, and I'm going to have a snooze for an hour, and then I've got some business to go and do. So yeah, but I'm going to have a snooze in a comfortable bed. Not that the hammock isn't comfortable, but for somebody like me with MS who has to get up and pee about a dozen times in the night, it gets pretty tedious after a while. So yeah, I'm going to go back and have a comfortable sleep for a little bit. Alright, let's get out of this thing. Time to put the belt back on. All the holsters and stuff. And straight away the mozzies have found me. It's going to be fun. I haven't had the greatest of night's sleep, but I kind of expected that. So I'll get all this on here, and then I'm going to get some more repellent on, and I might get the fire going to smoke out the mozzies a bit, but I don't know how much longer I'm going to be here. I'm thinking pretty much as soon as I'm awake and on the ball, I think I'm going to be getting back across the river and get back to something a bit more comfortable, because I've kind of had my fill of this now. Right, where are we? Repellent. You know, when you are emulating a survival situation, I would call it survival if I'm stuck and waiting for rescue. But, well, and I just put my Leatherman in the Victorinox pouch. I'm not awake yet. So, yeah, I need to wait until I can safely navigate with this Argo. I don't want to do something silly when I'm not awake. So, yeah. Trying to decide whether I'm going to do breakfast here or not. Either way, I think I need some fire. Morning chorus here is pretty noisy, but hopefully I'll have a cuppa soon enough. Alright, I'm looking at the state of the water this morning. I've probably got a little less than half a litre left after my cup of tea here, and I've got a little bit left in this. So doing actually reasonably well with the water. I've been able to do that because it was fairly cool overnight, and I was able to just keep my activity to a minimum, and I wasn't sweating everything out. So I also made full use of that electrolyte mix that I had and drank all of that. But yeah, I'm gonna have this and then I'm going to start packing up. Alright, there's light enough that you can actually see my face now. I'm running out of room on this card too, so filming might be limited on the return trip. But you can probably tell from the camera, I don't know, I'm a little bit shaky. These muscles have copped a bit of a hiding being tucked up in that hammock all night. I have my concerns about going back in the water this morning. I'm a little bit run down because I didn't sleep well, and I'm concerned I could make a mistake. But you know, I always stress about these things and I'm perfectly fine, but I guess I just got to take my time and warm up. And it is actually considerably colder than I had expected this morning, and the cold normally doesn't bother me until I'm tired. You know, it does. So yeah, cup of tea time and we'll get going. Alright, so we are still connected to the trolling battery here. We're going to see how we go starting from that. Oh, I'm still in gear. Try now. That starts a whole lot better on the trolling battery. Leave the choke out a bit. I think half my starting problem is the battery's small. Alright. Let it idle for a bit and let's go find George. Alright, well, can't find George. He's probably hiding down the back end of the island that I'm not going to bother going to this morning. Anyway, the water's dropped a little bit. The entry is slightly steep, or a little steeper than I would expect. So I'm going to do a reverse entry. See how we go. Back at the vehicle. Now I took the bung plugs out before I loaded it, and there's a bit of water come out, and you'll notice how it's all wet and up and over the top here and all the way into the back. Well, when I did the reverse entry the water was up to about here. That battery in the back definitely does change things for reverse entry. I'm happier about that than having done the forward entry though. What it does mean is I need to strap this guy down, and then I'm going to stand on the back and see how much water drains out. I'll tilt the whole thing back. Anyway, let's get out with the straps and get on with that bit. Alright, so now we find out how much water's in there. I've strapped everything down to the trailer here, and I'm going to stand on. Well, I am burning through batteries this trip. It's about the 7th battery. Anyway, we're looking at the back of this. We're about to tilt the tilt bed back. Got the Argo strapped down. I'll find out how much water comes out the bung plugs. There was a bit came out when I drove up, but we'll see how much is left. We'll find out how much we took on when we did our reverse entry. not much by the looks. I'm pretty happy about that. Would have been just a splash by the looks. We'll let it go for a minute. That's definitely worth doing this. Alright, now let's let this up gently. Right. Okay. Now, editing this is going to be a bit of a nightmare. Largely because I've had 5 cameras on the go this trip. For various different applications. So, no idea how this is going to come out or how much of this stuff I'm going to cut in. I'm guessing I'm going to be about an hour episode by the time I'm done with all this. But you guys don't seem to mind that. And I've got dirty lenses. There we go. Alright. Well, I'm going to enjoy some breakfast. And then I'm going to get on with my daily duties. And then I'm going to sleep well tonight. Anyway, I hope this has been an interesting episode. It certainly has with me. I learnt a few things on this trip. Namely that Rocco's right and tracks might help me with water exits. But that won't help me with paddling. Anyway, the debate will continue on that with Rocco. And reverse entries with a battery on the back, I have learnt are at risk of taking on water anyway. So it could be that I make myself a barge board on the back of this just to help with that. Anyway, we will move on to more adventures. Although after this one, I'm going to need a little bit of time off. This was a bit more than I am capable of these days. Anyway, see you in the next one. Hope it was fun. Discuss in the comments below if you wish. I will see you later.